On Friday at 3:12 p.m., I stared at my phone like it had personally insulted me. No commission. Not a damn cent. 4 years of smashing quotas, cleaning up after junior reps, and doing Darren's job when he was too busy schmoozing VPs at Topgolf, and this was how it ended? A blank deposit and a shrug. I marched down to HR, heels hitting the tile hard enough to turn heads. Melissa, with her Botoxed forehead and voice like a sleepy Alexa, blinked at her screen and said, "Oh, weird. Looks like it was flagged as a clerical error. These things happen." Darren, my smug excuse of a VP, walked by just in time to hear her. He didn't even slow down, just smirked and tossed over his shoulder, "Guess you'll have to live without that beach trip this year." And then, like the walking HR violation he winked. That was the moment. Not the missing money. Not the fake concern. That smirk. That wink. That damn glint in his eye that said I did this on purpose. By the time I reached my desk, my fingers were trembling, but not from rage. From clarity. Because this wasn't new. Darren had been making noise for weeks about entitled commission junkies, and how revenue should serve the org, not the reps. Translation. He wanted to cut bonuses and take the credit. HR was just the puppet. He was the hand. So I sat, breathed, smiled politely at Susan from marketing who asked if I was okay. And then I opened my personal Dropbox. Quick pause here. If you're into stories like this, take a second to hit the like button and subscribe. 97% of folks don't, and it really keeps this storytelling engine running. Alright, back to it. I started sorting files. Not deleting. Just backing up what was mine. My QBR decks. My pipeline models. The personalized retention strategy one built for Gantwell Automotive. The $12 million account that made Darren look like a genius, even though he couldn't sell snow in July. Funny thing about Gantwell. Their CEO once told me during a strategy call, "You're the only reason we're still here." I'd laughed it off, but I never forgot it. And apparently neither did he. By 4 p.m. I was out of fake smiles. I set my status to OO, told no one, and walked slowly to the elevator. Every step felt like shedding a skin. They thought they shorted me a check. What they really did was short their future. In the parking lot, I called my old colleague Riley. She left the firm last year to start a boutique agency that was quietly scooping up pissed-off clients like a Dyson on a shag carpet. "Hey," I said, voice flat. "You still looking for someone who can bring in real accounts?" There was silence on the other end. Then, "Tell me you're free for brunch Sunday." I smiled for the first time that day. "You're buying." I didn't sleep Friday night. Not because I was angry, though I was in that bone-deep way where your pulse stays calm but your jaw won't unclench, but because I couldn't stop replaying every conversation, every subtle slight that suddenly made perfect sense. The last-minute account reshuffles. Darren swooping into client meetings uninvited. HR accidentally removing me from the Q3 bonus pool 2 months ago, then acting like it was just a glitch. It wasn't a mistake. It was a strategy. They wanted me to leave before I made partner. Before I qualified for equity. So Saturday morning, coffee in hand, I opened my laptop and started what I now call the quiet audit. I went through everything: contracts, SOWs, old emails, CRM records. I wasn't looking for dirt. I was looking for clarity. I wanted to know exactly how much of this house I had built with my own hands. And then I found it. The master service agreement with Gantwell Automotive signed 2 years ago. Section 14, points of contact. Under primary liaison, there it was in black and white. My full name. Not the company. Me. I read it 3 times. That contract was due for renewal in 6 days. 6 days. And guess what? There was no clause requiring them to renew with the current agency. Just that all communications had to go through the listed liaison until an amendment was signed. My hands started shaking again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was the sudden giddy realization that I wasn't stuck. I wasn't powerless. They thought they owned the account. But Gantwell didn't trust the company. They trusted me. I pulled up my contacts and found Riley's number. She'd co-founded a boutique agency after escaping the same dumpster fire I was still in. Last time we talked, she'd mentioned they were aggressively pursuing automotive and logistics verticals. Well, here I was, gift-wrapped in both. I texted, "Gantwell's up for renewal. Want to talk Sunday?" Her reply came so fast I wondered if she'd been staring at her phone. Absolutely. Brunch or blood pact? I chuckled for the first time all weekend. Both. The rest of Saturday was a blur of file transfers and careful note-taking. I wasn't stealing anything. Not IP, not data, not client lists. Just what I personally built. Slide decks, call logs, handwritten feedback. Darren had always dismissed the soft stuff. Too bad the soft stuff was exactly why clients stayed. By sundown, my audit was complete. Every trail of value led back to me. Every big renewal. Every salvage deal Darren nearly torched with his tone-deaf arrogance. I wasn't just a top performer. I was the performance. And suddenly I didn't feel like a victim anymore. I felt like an asset finally realizing her worth. We met at a greasy little cafe Riley swore had the best cinnamon rolls in the Tri-County area. I didn't care what we ate, as long as I had caffeine and an exit plan from that snake pit of a firm. She showed up in dark jeans and a blazer that said, "I own the room, but I'll still split nachos with you," and hugged me like we hadn't both been burned by the same fire. "So," she said, sliding into the booth and waving off the menu, "tell me how badly they screwed you." I didn't dramatize it. I didn't have to. Just laid out the facts while stirring a coffee that had long gone cold. 4 years of loyalty, top rep 3 quarters running, and they forgot my $27,400 commission. No warning. No apology. Just a damn gift card and a VP who treated me like a leaky faucet. Then I told her about Gantwell. About how they'd been grumbling for months. About bloated retainers, tone-deaf campaign suggestions, and the fact that Darren once addressed their CEO as Greg, when his name was Jeff. Not once. Twice. She leaned back, grinning. "So what you're saying is they're ripe." "They're rotting," I said. "And I'm the one who's been keeping them from falling off the vine." That's when Riley stopped being my friend and started being a business partner. She pulled out her iPad and opened a draft partnership agreement already pre-filled with my name. "We've had our eye on you. Not just because of Gantwell. Your whole portfolio has scalable written all over it. And we don't do micromanagement. You'd have full autonomy, a guaranteed revenue share, and partner status from day one." I stared at it for a long moment, waiting for the panic to kick in. It didn't. Only calm. Like I'd been holding my breath for years and didn't even realize it. We walked through the terms. I asked sharp questions. She gave sharper answers. No games. No fluff. Just mutual respect and a shared hunger to build something that didn't bleed people dry, and call it cost optimization. When we shook hands, it wasn't ceremonial. It was surgical, like snapping the final piece of a puzzle into place. Back home, I pulled up the client portal Gantwell had access to and uploaded one document. Transfer of account representative authorization. Nothing shady. Nothing secretive. Just a formal notice that all agency communications would now go through me, at a new address. Then I sat in the quiet. No champagne. No revenge playlist. Just me, a glass of water, and the soft hum of the fridge as I stared at the wall and felt peaceful. I'd finally moved. Not out of desperation. Out of precision. And the storm hadn't even started yet. Monday morning, I walked into the office like it was any other day. Same burnt coffee smell in the break room. Same fake laughs echoing from Darren's corner office where he held court like a low-rent Caesar. The reception in turn waved at me, oblivious. My inbox was filled with spammy updates and a cheery company-wide email from HR about Q4 morale initiatives. I didn't even open it. But Darren? Darren was already pacing. I saw him through the glass wall, clutching his phone in one hand and stabbing at his laptop with the other. His shoulders hunched tighter with every passing minute. It was only 9:12 a.m. and sweat had already bloomed under his armpits like a weather map of failure. I knew the moment he got the message. His face slackened, then went taut like a bungee cord pulled too far. Someone must have pinged him about the Gantwell renewal doc. Still unsigned. Empty fields. No reply from their procurement lead. The same lead who, just last week, had asked me how soon I'd be taking over Darren's role full-time. Guess now he had his answer. At 9:35, HR tapped on my cubicle wall. Melissa again. Gift card in hand. This one for Starbucks, not even enough for a decent week of lattes. Just wanted to say sorry again about Friday. She chirped, like she was delivering flowers instead of insult. It was a systems error. We've flagged it and everything's being processed for next cycle. I looked at the card. Looked at her. Said, Thanks. With the same energy you give a flight attendant handing you pretzels after a 5-hour delay. She blinked, clearly hoping for some kind of closure or acceptance. I gave her none. By 10 o'clock I started packing. Not with panic. Not with bitterness. Just quiet precision. Personal effects only. A framed photo of my dog, 2 notebooks, my travel mug, and the succulent Riley gave me when she quit. I wiped down the desk like I was closing a chapter. As I was. Darren hadn't come out of his office. He was probably too busy screaming into a phone, asking why no one could get through to Jeff. And Jeff? Jeff was busy too, signing onboarding documents with Riley's agency and sending me a text that simply read, "They never saw you coming. We're all in." I left my badge on the desk. No announcement. No email. Just a single sheet of printer paper, folded in half with 6 handwritten words. Not angry. Just accurate. My name. The elevator doors closed behind me like the final click of a well-set mousetrap. And inside I didn't smile. Not yet. By noon Darren was unraveling like a clearance suit in a hurricane. At first he strutted around barking orders like it was just another fire drill. He assumed the unsigned renewal was a fluke, maybe a digital hiccup. "Give him a nudge," he told the client services team. "Loop procurement. They probably just forgot to hit send." But by 12:45 nobody was hitting back. Every email bounced back with a polite "can reply." "We are in the process of evaluating agency partnerships. Thank you for your patience." The team watched him stalk around like a caged raccoon, eyes darting, shirt sticking to his back. I wasn't there to see it, but Riley was. She had someone on the inside, our mutual friend Karen in accounts, texting us a play-by-play like it was a soap opera. Darren's red. Like full tomato. Just slammed his door after procurement ghosted him. At 1:10 Darren got desperate. He skipped email and dialed Gantwell's head of procurement directly. Pete Hughes, the guy who once told me, "I don't trust people who use buzzwords instead of actual answers." Pete picked up. Darren tried to charm. Failed spectacularly. Karen, still narrating like a war correspondent, said you could hear Darren's side of the call through the wall. Overly loud, overly cheerful. Like he was pretending to be relaxed while trying not to scream. Then suddenly silence. He didn't hang up. He just stopped talking. And when he stepped out of his office 2 minutes later, the color had drained from his face like someone had unplugged the man and emptied his battery. Slackjaw. Eyes unfocused. Fingers twitching like he needed to click something to make it all go away. Because Pete's final words had been simple, direct, and lethal. "We've already moved. Narrator's name has our full confidence moving forward. Best of luck." Best of luck. I imagine Darren stood there for a second trying to process how the woman he undercut, belittled, and financially gutted just erased 40% of his pipeline without even saying goodbye. By 1:30 he was in legal. Karen said he stormed in without knocking, waving his phone like it was Exhibit A in a murder trial. She poached a client. That's theft, right? Breach of something. But legal was already weeks behind the curve. They'd been left out of the commission decision entirely. No NDA had been enforced. No client-specific non-compete on record. And the Gantwell contract? Tied to me by name, not the firm. They checked, rechecked, checked again, and came back with the kind of answer that makes execs consider early retirement. No breach. No violation. You docked her pay. She walked. That was the moment Darren realized the game was already over, and he hadn't even known he was playing. He thought I'd bluff. I'd already moved the queen off the board. The compliance meeting started with that brittle silence executives do when they know they've already lost, but haven't figured out who to blame yet. It was Darren, 2 attorneys from legal, the HR director, and, according to Karen's blow-by-blow texts, one very nervous intern who got dragged in to take notes and looked like she wanted to fall through the floor. Legal opened with the calm of a surgeon delivering bad news. "We've reviewed the contract with Gantwell. The representative of record is not the agency. It's her. She was listed as the sole liaison for all strategic correspondence, account transitions, and performance reviews." Darren, still red in the ears, barked. "But we've worked with Gantwell for years." Legal nodded, unimpressed. "And she's been the reason they stayed for those years." Their procurement officer confirmed the transition. No complaints. No breach. He tried again. What about the NDA? She had access to proprietary materials, internal data. The junior attorney, clearly annoyed he was even in this meeting, cut in. She didn't take any protected documents. We ran a full credential audit. Nothing accessed after her departure. And as you know, he looked directly at HR. The NDA she signed does not restrict client relationships outside the medical, government, or enterprise tech sectors. That wiped the smug off HR's face. Darren turned to them anyway. So what now? We just let her go? No consequences. She walks out and takes a $12 million account with her and we do nothing. It was HR who finally said it. The line Karen later swore made the whole room flinch. We didn't let her go, Darren. You docked her commission. You made her walk. Legal didn't even blink. And now she's not coming back. Meanwhile, across town, I was sitting in a conference room with real daylight and clean coffee, walking Gantwell's procurement team through onboarding at Riley's agency. It was seamless. Jeff, the COO, even said, "Feels like we should have done this 2 years ago." I smiled, handed over the rollout plan I'd finished at 6 a.m. and replied, "You did. It just took a while to catch up on paper." They laughed. I didn't. Not because I was still angry, because I was focused. This was precision, not payback. Darren thought a commission was leverage. He didn't understand the currency of trust. And now? He'd bankrupt the company trying to buy it back. By Wednesday morning, the mood inside the firm had curdled. The board called an emergency meeting. Something about unexpected variance in Q3 forecasting. No one needed to read the memo twice to know what that meant. Gantwell was officially gone, and the hole it left wasn't metaphorical. It was a canyon, and the fall had already started. 40%. That's how much Gantwell accounted for in projected Q3 revenue. Not just the biggest account, but the anchor account, the one Darren had boasted about during every town hall like he personally built the damn relationship with his bare hands. Except now the anchor was gone, and the ship was tilting. They canceled all pending offers in marketing and paused backfills across sales. The holiday hiring push? Scrapped. Word got around fast. Mostly because people like Karen knew how to leak without looking like they'd leaked. She sent me a voice memo that afternoon. They're freezing bonuses. Darren's office door is shut. They've got him on performance review status, which is code for start packing. I didn't gloat. Not out loud. But I did allow myself a small, satisfied exhale while reviewing Gantwell's campaign approvals in our new system. Back at the firm, it got worse. By Thursday, the whispers had evolved into murmurs. Sales reps began comparing notes about who held what accounts and whether any other contracts were tied to individual liaisons instead of the company. HR scrambled to reassure everyone that the Gantwell situation was a one-off. But no one bought it. Not after what happened to me. Not after watching a commissioned rep get gutted, dismissed, and quietly deleted, only to turn around and walk away with the keystone of the quarter. People started using phrases like walkout leverage and contingency plan in Slack channels they thought were private. One of the senior reps forwarded an email to herself titled Exit Options. By Friday, 2 more had requested meetings with legal to review their contracts. The fear in the air was sharp and clean, like ozone before a storm. And Darren? Darren was still coming in, but he looked ghosted from the inside out. The color hadn't come back to his face. His hair was suddenly flatter, thinner. The man who used to finger gun at interns now barely lifted his eyes from the desk. He tried to hold a team huddle that Friday. 5 people showed up. 12 called out. 3 were working from home and never logged on. He told them, "We're recalibrating. The firm is fine. This is a bump." But no one believed him. Not anymore. The sun hit my desk at just the right angle, warm, not blinding like it had been waiting for me to sit there. No buzzing fluorescence, no recycled air wheezing through clogged vents, no Darren stomping past like a mall cop with a god complex. Just light, space, and silence, broken only by the soft hum of motivated people who didn't need to prove how important they were. Riley stopped by with 2 coffees, no coffee run Slack ping, just instinct and respect. She didn't hover. Just dropped the cup next to my keyboard with a grin and said, "You earned that title plate, boss." I looked down at it again, partner strategic growth. Not senior account manager. Not quota monkey level 4. No dangling carrot of maybe someday. Just the role I'd already been doing for years. Recognized, respected, and compensated without games. At 11:02, the front desk buzzed me. Package. I wasn't expecting anything. It was small, sleek, wrapped in the kind of minimalist matte black that whispered luxury without screaming for attention. Inside was a pen, real weight to it, gold-trimmed, engraved in a crisp serif font. To those who remember loyalty, Gr. Jeff, CEO of Gantwell Automotive. No card, no signature needed. Just the initials and the kind of gift that said more than any PowerPoint ever could. I turned it slowly in my fingers, feeling the smooth edge catch the light. I knew exactly what I'd use it for. A fresh proposal sat on my screen. New client. Logistics firm. Had been sniffing around ever since word leaked that Gantwell moved. They wanted a boutique feel with enterprise sharpness. Riley had already looped me in on the exploratory call. Now they were asking for terms. I clicked print, picked up the pen and signed. Not out of spite. Not even out of ambition. Just because it was mine to sign. No escalations. No escalation paths. No org chart politics. Just trust and the work behind it. The office was smaller. The team leaner. But the clarity? Unmatched. I didn't need to win the boardroom anymore. I just needed a desk that didn't insult me by pretending I hadn't already earned one. It was just after lunch when I saw it. I'd stepped out for a quick walk, came back with a poke bowl and an oat latte, and opened my laptop like any other day. No dramatic music. No thunderclap. Just a soft ping from my Google Alerts. Like the universe casually tapping me on the shoulder. Gantwell Automotive announces new agency partnership with Acuity Strategies. There it was. Our firm's name, mine and Riley's, sitting proudly in the headline, followed by a polished quote from Jeff about trust, responsiveness, and an alignment of values. Nothing overblown. No mention of the old agency. Just a clean public pivot. But I knew what wasn't said. I scrolled further down the article, past the usual fluff. A financial blog had already picked it up. Under the market impacts section, a single sentence stood out. Stock for Lindale Group Holdings dipped 7.3% in afternoon trading, following the loss of one of its top revenue anchors. Lindale Group Holdings. My former employer. The behemoth. The one that couldn't be bothered to press the right button on payday. I clicked over to their leadership page almost as a reflex. Darren's photo was gone. Just blank space where his smug, overlit portrait used to sit. No announcement. No farewell. Just digital erasure, the corporate version of being tossed out the side door without a box. I didn't smile. Not out of coldness, but because I was too far past that point. This wasn't about vengeance. It wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about reclaiming what they tried to take: my value, my work, my worth. I opened Outlook, drafted a new email. Simple subject line. Missed payment. One recipient. An old coworker. Nice guy, always got me in through the freight entrance when I forgot my badge. Still stuck there, probably wondering if it was time to jump. I kept it short. They forgot my commission. I remembered the client. And that was it. No speeches. No rants. No flex. Just a clean transfer of value, the way business always claims to operate, only this time it actually did. Some people leave a job. Others leave with the reason it stayed afloat.